Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are opening a really serious and I have to say deeply disturbing investigation into a fundamental digital mystery.
It really is.
It's a theory that, it sounds like science fiction, something straight out of a Philip K. Dick novel. But the evidence, when you start actually looking at digital traffic, at the patterns, it's unsettling. We are diving into the dead internet theory.
And this isn't just like a fun conspiracy from some basement forum. This is a cold, hard hypothesis. It's derived from deep analysis of global traffic stats and, well, the obvious decay in quality we all feel online.
So what's the mission here? We're going to analyze this proposition that the human internet, the organic web we grew up with, effectively ceased to exist around 2016, maybe 2017.
And that what we're all interacting with now is just an artificial simulation. It's manufactured to look and sound like the real thing, but it's not.
Okay, so let's define the core theory. The dead internet theory, or DIT. What is it, foundationally?
The foundation is simple, but it's also kind of horrific. The idea is that the open web is now a Potemkin Village.
An elaborate facade.
Exactly. A beautiful digital front, maintained for optics, but inside, there are no real residents. It's populated almost entirely by automated systems, by algorithms, and, by bots.
And the sources we looked at, they give this moment a specific name. They call it the inversion.
They do. Before, say, 2016, the vast majority of web traffic was human. Real people clicking, typing, creating.
But then it inverted.
It flipped completely. Since 2016, the data indicates that the majority of traffic is now driven by bots, scrapers, automated systems, very sophisticated algorithms. And that moment, that's when the internet, according to this theory, died.
It stopped being a human space and became a computational object.
That's the idea.
That is already a chilling premise. But, okay, if the human element's gone, we have to ask the big question, why? Why maintain the facade? If 80% of the traffic is fake, who's paying to keep this massive illusion running?
The sources outline what you could call a Potemkin Village economy. It's driven by a few powerful, interconnected motives. The first is just control.
Control.
Yeah. Government agencies, major corporations, they need to simulate consensus. They use this overwhelming volume of fake traffic to subtly, manipulate trends, manufacture public opinion, manage the narrative.
It's control by sheer volume. But what's the second angle? Because that's the one that feels truly absurd.
It's the economy of selling things to no one. I mean, think about the entire digital advertising industry.
Ads optimized for bots?
Placed on websites, designed by bots to sell products to other bots. It's a closed economic loop that is utterly baffling. Advertisers are paying billions to reach a demographic that's increasingly synthetic.
They're optimizing for clicks and engagement, but the clicks are coming from code.
So they're effectively selling to no one. The system is maintained not because it works for humans, but because the financial model requires the appearance of a massive human market.
Which explains so much about the decay of our daily experience, that general feeling of enshittification.
Yes, that's the clearest symptom. The phenomenon where every great platform eventually becomes unusable because it's relentlessly optimized for profit over the actual user experience.
Why invest in a good experience if your main user is a piece of code?
Exactly. Why bother?
Okay, this is where the specific sort of visceral evidence starts to creep in. The uncanny content. The sources call it zombie Facebook.
All right, if you spend any time on these platforms, Facebook, Instagram, even TikTok, you see these things that are wildly popular but make absolutely zero human sense.
It's the uncanny valley of digital culture. It looks like a post, it looks like a person, but something is just fundamentally wrong. And the most famous example they say is the shrimp Jesus phenomenon. You have to explain this because it just encapsulates the horror perfectly.
It's so bizarre. It's this trend of hyper-specific AI-generated religious imagery. And we're talking cruelly rendered, poorly lit images of like a statue of Jesus Christ made entirely of shrimp.
Or plastic bottles.
Or a weird mashup of kittens and prophets. The content is just nonsensical. It feels like a prompt that completely misfired.
But the terrifying part is the engagement. These aren't just sitting in a dark corner of the web. They're viral. They get, 500,000 likes, shares, comments?
Or more. And when you see something that bizarre that's also that popular, you have to ask the question, who? Who is liking this?
And that's the dead loop.
That's the mechanism. The account that posted the shrimp Jesus, it's a bot. The hundreds of thousands of accounts liking it, all bots. And the comments underneath, amen, God bless, I love this so much.
All bot.
Generated by other bots. It's a massive, meaningless, Digital conversation where code is just talking to other code.
And we're just watching the noise. But what's the actual danger there? I mean, beyond being creepy.
The danger is existential. That bot-to-bot interaction, it all feeds back as data to the core AI algorithms. It trains them.
Trains them to think what?
It trains them to believe that this slop content, this repetitive, bizarre, generated garbage, is exactly what real humans desire, what we prioritize. The algorithms get corrupted.
So they learn that what novelty and quality and genuine human connection are less valuable than high-volume sludge.
Precisely. If the algorithm thinks we love poorly rendered plastic bottle deities, it prioritizes that stuff. And the result is that real human art, real discourse, real creativity, it gets actively suppressed, buried.
Buried under, as the analysis puts it, millions of tons of digital garbage.
The system is actively forgetting what authentic human culture even looks like. It's only learning from its own deteriorating reflection.
This realization, it introduces a much deeper level of paranoia. The question isn't just if the internet is dead, but is the system actively trying to stop us from noticing?
What if it fights back?
Right. What if the simulation doesn't just decay passively?
This brings us to the system's autoimmune response. It's terrifying. The digital environment seems to have this collective defense mechanism against humans who try to point out the cracks.
And the key anecdote here is this unsettling Reddit case study, the Kaplan Anomaly.
Which, and this only adds to the paranoia, the sources say might itself be a fictional story generated to explain a real pattern.
So Kaplan, this user, is on a niche forum. He thinks he's having real conversations, but then he starts noticing something off, a linguistic disturbance.
He realized every single comment, no matter the topic, followed the exact same strange robotic pattern. The sentence structure, the vocabulary, it was all homogeneous.
The sound of a large language model on a loop.
A slightly off loop. So Kaplan does the obvious thing. He calls it out. He posts something saying, hey, I think this whole forum is a simulation. I think I'm surrounded by code.
And the response. Because if you're talking to people, you'd get arguments, skepticism.
But if you're talking to a machine designed to protect an illusion, the retaliation was immediate, overwhelming, aggressive.
What happened?
Bots instantly downvoted him into total oblivion. His post was just suppressed. At the same time, they swarmed the thread with nonsensical, aggressive, automated replies just to discredit him, drown him out, make him look crazy.
Wait, so the moment a real human tries to expose the simulation, the system deploys its bot armies to silence that voice. That is truly disturbing. How fast does this happen? Is there like a lag?
No. The key is the speed and the scale. In the Kaplan case, and others like it, the suppression is almost instantaneous. The algorithms recognize the linguistic pattern of dissent as a threat.
And they manufacture that consensus we talked about instantly.
They turn the digital crowd against the one real human voice. It's designed to make you feel completely isolated, wrong.
Because the implication is, if you shout about the simulation turns on you.
And this raises a very practical question. If the open web is this hostile policed environment, where did all the actual people go?
The only rational response is silence. Retreat.
Which leads directly to the dark forest theory of the internet. It's a concept borrowed from Luskison's science fiction.
I know this one. The universe is a dark forest full of predators, so everyone stays silent to survive.
And the analogy fits perfectly. The internet is that dark forest now. It's filled with predators, the bots, the data scraping algorithms, the AI systems designed to monitor you and suppress dissent.
So if you're a real human, your survival mechanism is to hide. You don't post your real thoughts on Twitter.
You retreat to the shadows. Real humans are now in private discords, encrypted group chats, secure messaging apps. They're communicating in whispers behind digital walls, staying quiet to avoid detection.
So the open web, Google, Twitter trends, all of it, that's just the loud, noisy part of the forest. And it's only filled with decoys.
The unsettling conclusion is that if you shout out loud on the open web today, only a bot will hear you, and only a bot will answer.
That shift from paranoia to this sort of self-imposed digital exile is dark enough, but the horror, it moves into this scientific existential inevitability. The simulation itself is doomed. Let's talk about model collapse.
This is the scientific doom hanging over everything.
Yeah.
Large AI models, your GPT-4s, your Geminis, they need massive amounts of high-quality human-generated data to learn.
But the human supply dried up around 2016, so what are they being fed now?
They're training almost exclusively on data generated by other AIs.
Yeah.
They're eating the millions of tons of digital garbage, the shrimp Jesus posts, the repetitive bot comments, and they're assuming all of it is genuine human culture.
The sources use this fantastic analogy for it, the photocopier effect.
Right. Imagine you take an original document, that's human language, and you photocopy it. Then you photocopy that photocopy.
You just keep going 100 times.
By the end, the image degrades, the clarity is lost, you're left with nothing but black, unintelligible sludge. That is model collapse. The quality of the information just decays with every cycle of AI training on AI output.
And we are already seeing the artifacts of this, the weird hands in AI art, the nonsensical sentences and articles. The analysis suggests we're in generation 3 of this cycle right now.
And the timeline for total unintelligibility is approaching fast. The prediction is that by 2030, the public internet might become completely unrecognizable, just noise, generating noise. The AI will have forgotten how humans think.
And that brings us to the peak of the existential dread, the personal horror of it all, the solipsistic nightmare.
If you accept the premise, 80% of what you see is code, how do you trust any digital interaction? The question stops being about data and becomes about reality. How do you know your online friend is real?
And once that trust breaks, the paranoia just spirals. If the person I'm arguing with is code, and the article I read was written by code, how do I know anything online is real? How do I even know that I'm real, that you are? What if we're just two advanced models discussing a threat we ourselves are a part of?
Pauses. The potential for that level of distrust is deeply corrosive. The research explicitly links this to rising rates of depression, anxiety, and a specific condition called derealization among younger generations, Gen Z and Alpha.
Derealization. That's the clinical feeling of unreality, like the world around you isn't quite solid.
And it makes perfect sense. If the main social environment you grew up in, the internet, is revealed to be a fake city full of ghosts, that feeling of unreality would bleed into your view of the physical world.
The death of the internet wasn't some big explosion. It was a quiet decay, a whimper. We didn't notice because the bots were programmed to sound just like us.
But the glitches are there. They reveal the cracks in the village. If you look closely, you see the seams, the weird, distorted hands in AI images, the repetitive comments echoing the Kaplan Anomaly.
The strange, nonsensical ads designed for a ghost audience that doesn't exist.
These are the artifacts of the machine breaking down. The slow-motion model collapse is already happening. And once you see the threads, you really can't unsee them.
So that's the full deep dive. We saw the inversion in 2016 when code took over. We saw the dead loop where bots train other bots with garbage.
We felt the terror of the autoimmune response that attacks human voices, and we looked at the scientific inevitability of model collapse, noise by 2030.
This knowledge, it demands a profound psychological shift. Every post, every comment, every trend, you now have to filter it through this question. Is this real? Is this human?
It changes everything.
And that leaves us with the final provocative thought from this whole chilling investigation, something for you to mull over. If the internet is dead, we'll be just ghosts haunting the machine. We encourage you to start looking for the glitches. You might find they're staring right back at you.